So On's professional athletes have been on the podiums quite a bit recently, and the shoe that they've been wearing is now finally available. That is the CloudBoom Echo 3 from On, and this shoe gets a complete redesign with a full Pebax midsole. I've done a few runs in it, I'm ready to give you my first impressions. But just first, a quick disclaimer that On did send me these shoes for review, but all my thoughts and opinion are my own. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the specs. The stack height is 37 in the heel and 28 in the forefoot with a 9mm heel-to-toe drop. The weight comes in at 7.7 ounces in a men's 8.5, so probably closer to 8 ounces in a size 9, and the price is $290. I put this in the carbon-plated racer category. Alright, now let's talk about what's new in the shoe overview. Starting with the upper, we get a minimal one-piece mesh made from recycled polyester. The midsole is 100% Helion HF foam. HF stands for Hyperfoam, and it is their Pebax foam. It has a full carbon speedboard, and it does have little CloudTech pods in the heel and forefoot. The outsole has just the necessary coverage in the forefoot and heel with some little extra texture added onto the rubber. Let's go ahead and talk about the fit. So I got my usual men's size 12, and I thought that the length was a little bit long. I think that if I would have gone to an 11.5, it would have been fine. And I'm wondering if that 11.5 would have helped with the upper too. I found it's kind of a little baggy, kind of ruffled up there around the toes. So maybe going down half a size might fix that. But yeah, you might want to play around sizes, especially if you do like kind of that more snug racing flat type fit. You might want to go down half a size. Moving on to the ride of the shoe and my first impressions. Lacing it up, the shoe felt really light and really fast. That rocker on the forefoot helps throw you on your toes and get you that high turnover. The new Helion HF foam with that carbon plate feels very premium and very fast. It definitely is, up to the standards with other carbon plated racers. But let's dive into that Helion HF foam just a little bit more. So it's not going to be like super soft and kind of bouncier, a little spongier, something like the Pebax found in the Hoka Rocket X2, or definitely not something as soft as Fuel Cell. So it's going to be a little bit on that firmer, more responsive side. I think it feels kind of closer to the Flight Foam Turbo found in the Metaspeed Sky Plus. And in some ways it also kind of reminds me of the Vaporfly Next Percent too. But still definitely a premium super foam. It's light and fast and speedy. It's just not going to give you that trampoline feel that some other softer foams do. So for me personally, I've been really enjoying this shoe for track workouts, doing like 10K pace. And I've also liked it doing some longer tempo runs at marathon effort. It just really feels great when you're picking up the pace and really on your toes. But I don't think this is going to be my first choice for actually racing a marathon. For that, I typically like a shoe that's going to have kind of that more trampoline feeling where it's a little softer, a little kind of more plush, and a little less firm, as well as it kind of tapers down here in the base, similar to how the Vaporfly does. And when I'm running a full marathon, I want something that's going to be a little wider there, a little more stable. But that being said, I think I will really enjoy this shoe for doing races from 10K to half marathon distances. So just a couple more things to mention real quick. First, like I mentioned on the upper, I did find it to kind of fit a little baggy. Wasn't like a super sleek and comfortable fit, sock-like, that I would have preferred. And I think that might have to do with the sizing, maybe a little long. One thing that wasn't was the tongue. I found that was pretty short, especially when using these upper eyelets. You kind of barely get protection from the tongue up there. And another thing to note is that on the box it says the lifespan is for marathons. And honestly, that's not a lot of mileage for a shoe that's almost $300. And even just with a few runs in it, I am starting to see some wear kind of quicker than I would have hoped, so that's just something to note as well. Alright, now it's time to do a few quick comparisons, and the first shoe I'm going to compare the CloudBoom Echo 3 to is the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent 3. So both of these shoes have PEBA based foams, they both have those scooped carbon plates, and I'd say they both have pretty similar rockers actually as well. I find that the foam on the Vaporfly 3 seems just a smidge softer, a little bouncier than I feel like it does on the CloudBoom Echo 3. However, I feel like this does kind of feel pretty similar to the Vaporfly Next% 2. So honestly, with the Vaporfly Next% 2 and the CloudBoom Echo 3, I found that they're actually very similar feeling shoes, in my opinion at least. They both kind of have that tapered base as well. I think the CloudBoom Echo 3 is maybe a little more stable than the Next% 2 and is kind of more on par with the Next% 3. But anyways, like I said, I think these are both great options, especially for me. For 10K, it's hard to choose between the two. But one thing that does make it a little easier for you is the price. With this one being around that $290 mark, you can get the Vaporfly Next% 2 on sale now for almost half the price of the CloudBoom Echo 3, and you can even get the brand new Vaporfly Next% 3 for like 40-ish bucks cheaper than the CloudBoom Echo 3. So I think that price is definitely going to be a factor here. Alright, next up is the Endorphin Elite. So again, both these shoes have Pebax-based foams, and they have those scooped carbon plates, though the plate on the Endorphin Elite is forked in the forefoot. But I think one big area these shoes really differ is the ride. The forefoot is much more aggressive on the Endorphin Elite, while I'd say that the CloudBoom Echo 3 is kind of normal. It's like more similar rocker to like the Vaporfly or some other super shoes, while this one I found to be very aggressive compared to most of the other super shoes. Anyways, though, I found that the density of the Pebax foams was pretty similar on both of these. They both, like I mentioned, were more on that firm side, less of that kind of spongy trampoline feel. So definitely nice for being fast and responsive and getting more of that kind of ground feel. However, the Endorphin Elite does feel like there's a lot more foam underfoot for some reason than it does in the CloudBoom Echo 3, and it feels just maybe a little more stable to me as well. Overall, I personally wouldn't necessarily pick either of these for a marathon. Like I mentioned, more like half marathon or 10K, but if I did, I would probably lean towards this one, just kind of that more stable feeling midsole, that more foam underfoot. And I do like the upper better on this one, even though it's like nothing to it, super minimal. It does feel very sock-like and keeps you locked in, while like I mentioned, this one, it does feel kind of baggy. So wrapping it up, overall, I think that the CloudBoom Echo 3 is a fantastic super shoe. It is definitely on par with the competition. It's light, it's fast, it's speedy, and it's personally one of my top choices for racing a 10K. That being said, though, the price is a huge factor at getting very close to $300 at like $280, $290. This shoe is way more expensive than even like the Alphafly or the Endorphin Elite at $275, and I just don't think it really brings anything like groundbreaking or innovative to justify that price point personally. Also, for being this expensive and on the box saying that its lifespan is only 4 marathons, that probably doesn't mean that you're going to want to do your workouts, your speed work in this shoe very much. You're going to want to save it for race day. And I think that if that's the case, On definitely wants to introduce like a super trainer or, you know, just an up-tempo trainer that will take this place for speed day. I don't think they really have anything like that on the market. I guess the closest thing is the Cloud Neo that has the Pebax foam and the Pebax plate, but that's on the subscription model and is a little weird. I think that they really need to solidify their lineup and bring in a shoe cheaper than this. They'll handle those key workouts so that you can save this expensive guy for race day. So I do have a lot more miles to put on this shoe before I give you my final verdict in my full review, but I want to hear what you think. Are you going to pick up this shoe when it drops, or are you kind of scared by the price point? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep on running.